It's that spooky season of year again, which means it's time to sit down and enjoy some spooky video games, like the introvert I am. Now, as a Nintendo-focused channel, I feel like I'm sort of obligated to cover Luigi's Mansion at some point or another, so pour yourself a bowl of goodies, turn out the lights, and let's enjoy one of the darkest adventures in the Mario Bros. Franchise. Literally. Hey there, I'm Kardino. Fun fact, even though I'm definitely a fan of the Luigi's Mansion series, I didn't actually grow up with it, despite me being a big fan of Mario and having a GameCube. Come to think of it, I didn't even grow up with Sunshine, weirdly enough. But anyway, a few years ago, I managed to find this game at a pretty good price and really came to enjoy it. But enough about that, without further ado, let's get started. Those of you who have watched my video about Nintendo's marketing over the years, car in the corner if you haven't, will probably remember how during the turn of the century, Nintendo was sort of in this emo phase along with most of the industry. However, one of the most frustrating things, according to Miyamoto, was that the Mario franchise had gradually become known as that series for kids. He even pointed out how he hated that Mario made the V for victory sign whenever he completed a level. It was time, he decided, for the world to know just how mature Mario could be. So they made a game about Luigi. The story is that Luigi received a letter saying that he's won a mansion in a contest. One he didn't even enter. Yeah, sure, and I'm the inheritor of a Nigerian prince's bank account. I gotta love how Mario didn't have any problems with this invitation either. Not only that, but he goes ahead of Luigi to check the place out for himself. What do you want to bet Mario's that guy who invites himself to your own party? Anyway, it turns out this whole thing was a trap, and Mario finds himself captured in a painting. A few days later, Luigi heads over and meets a scientist called Professor Egad, who gives him the Poltergust 3000. A modified vacuum capable of capturing ghosts. It's now Luigi's job to clear the entire mansion of ghosts and rescue his brother. Now, one thing I will compliment about this game off the bat is a presentation. Yeah, it's clearly aged. I mean, you can definitely see in some early GameCube games that models were still kind of rough. And obviously, any game that had a max resolution of 480p isn't going to look the best by today's standards. That being said though, everything else is pretty acceptable. I especially love the attention to details. Walk down a dark hallway and there'll be the spooky music in the background with Luigi humming along. And the more he's damaged, the more nervously he'll hum. Clear a room though, and he'll confidently, if not clumsily, walk around the room while whistling the theme instead. The juxtaposition of cartoon-style characters and the realistic mansion really helps make the atmosphere feel unsettling. At the same time though, everything looks just cartoony enough that it feels like it could be in the Mushroom Kingdom. And I mean, yeah, a lot of this is probably due to this being a tech demo for the GameCube. Nothing screams next gen quite like a 60 FPS door opening animation. Even the menus fit the atmosphere. Oh, something else I've seen nobody else talk about, the menu actually hides a really neat secret. I'll just give you a chance to see if you can spot it. There, you see that? Let me point it out in case you missed it. So obviously, this is a file select screen with some text saying, "Welcome to your mansion." But if you sit long enough, it changes to, "Welcome to our mansion." What a neat Easter egg. Oh, and another fun thing about this menu is if you go into the options, you can actually see a promo for the first Pikmin game. Okay, so let's discuss the controls. Now, maybe I'm just used to newer games, but for some reason I found this game's controls took longer to get used to than expected. Maybe this was on purpose, but they feel kind of awkward, especially when you're trying to aim your Poltergust. And with some of these ghosts, especially the boos, more on those later, not inverting the camera controls would have been better in my opinion. But of course that brings me to what makes this game so special, the ghosts. Yeah, for the most part you'll be finding the same 8 or so types of ghosts, but there are 2 other types you'll be going after in particular, the portrait ghosts and the boos. Now, for the most part, the boos are optional, although if you want a good ranking at the end of the game, you'll need to collect all 50 of them. At first it's no biggie, just collect them as you go, but especially toward the end of the game, some of these guys will have 200 or even 300 health and have a high tendency to run away. Yeah, they can do that. And what's especially frustrating is that since there's no limit on which rooms it can go in, you'll sometimes be chasing a Boo only for it to go into a room you haven't unlocked yet, or even worse, a room whose entrance is on the other side of the mansion, meaning you have to walk all the way around and hope it doesn't just go through the wall again. But like I said, at least these guys are mostly optional, and hey, they even have some punny names. I'm always one to smile at a good dad joke. Anyway, onto the other types of specters, the portrait ghosts. Now, these guys sort of act like puzzles. If you use the Game Boy horror device that EGAD gives you, you'll be able to scan their heart, which will sometimes give you a clue on how to defeat them. It's then up to you to solve the puzzle, whether it be waiting for them to get sleepy or opening a window to distract them. These guys offer a nice change of pace from the main gameplay and make it feel like you're actually walking through a mansion that was lived in. Although you'll learn in the end that the entire mansion was a fake and the portrait ghosts were just that, portraits. Come to think of it, why are we capturing the portrait ghosts again? It's not like they're harming anyone. I don't know why the professor had a mansion full of ghost pictures in his gallery, but it makes me slightly worried. Oh, and another thing I really love, if you scan a picture with the Game Boy Horror, Luigi will give his opinion about it. Oof, not a fan of the avant-garde era, are we? Anyway, this game is divided into 4 chapters, and each takes place in a different part of the mansion. The first is a bedroom area, the second is the main hall, the third is the upstairs, and the fourth is the attic and basement. I like how it always feels like you're going someplace new, especially when you see locked doors that you know you'll get to go through later. There's even some secret rooms you can go in if you explore thoroughly enough, and chances are, you won't find them on your first playthrough unless you pay very close attention to the map. But of course, at the end of each chapter, there's a boss to defeat, and most of them are pretty fun, save for Bulossus. Bulossus sucks. Oh, and right after you defeat them, the mansion gets hit with a blackout. What this basically means is that all the rooms are once again filled with ghosts, which should make things scary, but it's more annoying than anything. You'll just be walking through a hall somewhere, and every few steps a new ghost spawns in, which scares Luigi. But while he's locked in his animation, the other ghosts that are following you get some free shots in. Like I said, it's less spooky than annoying if you ask me. But anyway, let's skip to the end of the game. Oh yeah, here's a timestamp for those of you who don't want to be spoiled. Eventually, you'll reach a secret altar in the basement where you'll face off against King Boo. Defeat him and you'll finally be able to leave the mansion with Mario. You'll also get a final ranking based on how much money you collected, which can be found by exploring furniture, defeating ghosts as quickly as possible, finding mansion secrets, defeating all the Boos, and finding the special rats and speedy spirits. Now, all the above methods are fine and dandy, if not tedious. The speedy spirits, though, are a pain in the butt to get. They only appear before you've cleared a room in specific furniture. Then, after they're revealed, they'll run around the room and you have one chance to vacuum them up. Attempt to capture them from too far away or get hit by another ghost, and they're gone for good. And to get the best possible grade, you're gonna need to get a good number of these guys. Frankly, I didn't have the patience to reset every time I let them go, but again, at least they're optional. But anyway, like I was saying, you get your final ranking at the end of the game, and depending on how well you did, Luigi will get a new mansion. Besides that, you'll also get access to the Hidden Mansion, which is a harder mode that totally isn't worth doing if you have the North American copy of the game. What, did Nintendo think flipping the mansion would be too hard for Americans to handle or something? Anyway, the last thing you get by completing the game is this really awesome cutscene.
Mamma mia. Oh,
Luigi's Mansion is a weird game, but I think that's why so many people love it so much. It was different, it took risks, and due to its approximate 5 to 7 hour playtime, it's pretty easy to be replayed. It also allows you to try to get better each time you play it. As for me, I occasionally will come back to this game every couple years, but through no fault of its own, I kind of find it overshadowed, no pun intended, by its sequels. That being said, there is a lot to love here, especially the personality expressed through Luigi. Yeah, there are problems I have with this game that affect my enjoyment of it, but at the end of the day, this game is alright, and I can see why people grew attached to it. Anyway, with that being said, happy Halloween everyone. I've got a Nigerian prince to pay, but until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.